September 2019. You are a high school science teacher in Tripoli, Lebanon. Your name is Hassan. You earn 1,200,000 Lebanese pounds a month, $796 at the official rate. That rate hasn't moved since 1997, 22 years. The peg isn't a policy. It's geology. Your wife Fatima works at a small pharmacy near the Mina district. Together, you bring home about $1,300 a month. You pay $400 for a 3-bedroom apartment. Your 2 daughters attend private school. Almost every Lebanese child does, at $350 a month combined. You drive a used Kia, and at Blom Bank, you hold $41,000 in a dollar-denominated savings account. Not pounds. Dollars. You chose dollars deliberately. If anything ever happened to the Lebanese pound, your savings would be insulated. That is what your bank told you. That is what Riyad Salami, the central bank governor for 26 years, had been telling the entire country for 2 decades. That is what every banker, every economist, every financial columnist in Beirut confirmed. 18 months from now, that $41,000 will be worth somewhere between $6,000 and $7,000 in real purchasing power, maybe less. Not because you speculated, not because you made a single bad decision, because the institution holding your money was running what the World Bank would later formally describe as a deliberate Ponzi scheme. And your savings were the fuel. This is the story of Hassan and Fatima. And it is the story of what happens when a 22-year currency peg breaks, not slowly, but in a single month. Act 1. The spark. October 17, 2019. A Thursday. The Lebanese cabinet proposes a new tax, 20 cents per day on voice calls made over WhatsApp, FaceTime, and Messenger. In a country where nearly every citizen uses WhatsApp as their primary communication tool, because the state cannot provide reliable phone service, the amount is almost irrelevant. The symbolism is everything. The government delivers less than 2 hours of electricity per day. It has no functioning waste management. Tap water is undrinkable. And now it wants to tax the one free tool ordinary people use to talk to each other. By that evening, 150 people gather in central Beirut. By nightfall, thousands. Tires burn on the airport highway. The chant spreads, "Killin' yani killin'." All of them means all of them. By 11 p.m., the telecom minister scraps the tax. It no longer matters. On October 27th, protesters form a 170-kilometer human chain from Tripoli in the north to Tyre in the south. Prime Minister Saad Hariri resigns on October 29th. Hassan watches from his apartment in Tripoli. Fatima asks if they should withdraw their savings. Hassan tells her the banks closed on October 18th. When they reopen, he says, everything will be fine. The dollars are there. The account holds dollars. That is the whole point. Act 2. The freeze. The banks reopen on November 1st. Hassan goes to Blom Bank and asks to withdraw $5,000. The teller tells him he may withdraw $300 per week in Lebanese pounds at the official rate. There is no law authorizing this limit, no parliamentary vote, no executive decree. Each bank set its own rules unilaterally. Overnight. Hassan asks to wire $2,000 to his brother in Dubai. International transfers are suspended. He asks to pay school fees by check. Checks are honored, the teller says, but at a discount, because merchants no longer trust that money exists behind them. Within weeks, Lebanon has to parallel currencies. Physical cash dollars, bills you can hold, trade at face value. Bank dollars, the numbers on your screen, do not. The gap between them widens every week. Eventually, it becomes so extreme that Lebanese society coins a word for the trapped bank dollars, lira dollars, or lallars, a currency that appears on your statement but cannot be spent at its face value. Retired banker Dan Azzi coined the term. It entered the Lebanese lexicon overnight, because it described something that had no name in any economics textbook. A dollar that is not a dollar. Act 3. Default. March 7, 2020, Prime Minister Hassan Diab announces Lebanon will not pay a $1.2 billion Eurobond maturing in 2 days. After a 7-day grace period expires, Lebanon formally defaults on March 16, the first sovereign default in the country's history. Total Eurobond obligations in default, approximately $31.3 billion. Hassan hears this on the radio while driving to school. He doesn't fully understand what sovereign default means in technical terms. What he understands is that his government has just told the world it cannot pay its debts, and his savings are inside that country's banking system. By April 2020, the black market rate reaches £3,000 per dollar. By end of year, 8,500. By March 2023, 100,000 Hassan Feet's second salary of 1,200,000 Lebanese pounds was worth $796 in September 2019, at 8,500 to the dollar. It is $141. At 100,000 to the dollar, it is $12 a month. For a high school science teacher, Act 4, The Blast. August 4, 2020, 6:07 p.m. 2,750 tons of ammonium nitrate, stored in a port warehouse since 2014, flagged repeatedly as dangerous, ignored by every relevant authority, detonated at the port of Beirut. The blast is equivalent to 1.1 kilotons of TNT. 218 people are killed. More than 7,000 are injured. 300,000 are displaced from their homes. For university hospitals, 300 to 400 clinics, and 163 schools are destroyed or damaged. Hassan and Fatima's apartment is 11 kilometers from the port. The windows crack. Their younger daughter screams. The next morning they learn that Fatima's cousin, who worked at the port, is dead. No one is held accountable. No investigation is completed. The city begins rebuilding on private money and diaspora donations, because the state has neither the funds nor the capacity to act. The Prime Minister's cabinet resigns 6 days later. This is not an economic event, but it lands on top of an economic collapse and transforms it into something that feels like the end of a civilization. Act 5. Survival economics. Here is what Hassan and Fatima did to survive. Fresh dollars. Hassan's brother in Dubai began sending $300 a month through Western Union, physical cash, outside the banking system, worth 100 cents on the dollar. These became the family's real income. By 2022, Lebanese diaspora remittances had reached an estimated $7 to $10 billion annually, roughly 30% of GDP, for millions of families. A relative abroad had become their de facto central bank. Exit from the banking system. After the Lawler collapse became undeniable, Hassan and Fatima stopped depositing anything. Every payment went into a lockbox at home. They paid rent in cash, school fees in cash. The school eventually cut fees by 80%, because no family could pay the old rates. Barter. Fatima's pharmacy began accepting food, cleaning supplies, and gasoline in exchange for medication. Her mother brought 12 kilograms of rice for a course of antibiotics. A mechanic fixed the pharmacy owner's generator in exchange for blood pressure medication. Fatima was paid partly in goods, cooking oil, flour, diapers, that she could use at home or trade with neighbors. The generator economy. State electricity by late 2021 had fallen to 1 or 2 hours per day. In October of that year, a national blackout hit when the country's two largest power plants ran out of fuel simultaneously. Private diesel generators became the only reliable power source. Generator subscriptions ran $200 to $400 per month, an impossible sum. Hassan ran an extension cord to a neighbor's generator and paid his share by tutoring the neighbor's son in physics. The question of leaving. Fatima's sister had moved to Montreal in 2020 and urged them to follow. Hassan's son was shortlisted for a teaching position in Laval. They stayed. Fatima's mother was ill. They had reasons, but the choice was not available to everyone. An estimated 300,000 or more Lebanese have left since 2019. Among them, 3,500 physicians to 40% of the country's doctors, 30% of nurses. Entire hospital departments closed. At the American University of Beirut Medical Center alone, 120 physicians to 12% of faculty resigned. In 2022, 4 children died in 2 weeks because no pediatric cardiac surgeon remained in Lebanon. Act 6. The bank robberies. The moment that belongs in every history written about this crisis happened on August 11, 2022. Bassam al-Sheikh Hussein, a 42-year-old food delivery driver, walked into a federal bank branch in Beirut's Hamra district carrying a shotgun and a canister of gasoline. He fired 3 warning shots, locked himself inside with up to 10 hostages, and threatened to set himself on fire. His demand, $210,000, his own money, deposited in his own name to pay for his father's Alzheimer's treatment. The standoff lasted 7 hours. A crowd gathered outside and chanted, "We are all Bassam." He was handed $35,000 of his own savings through a window. He surrendered. He spent 5 days in jail. Federal bank dropped all charges. He later told a reporter, "Even before the money runs out, I will go to the bank and take more. Maybe next time I would use grenades." 1 month later, Salih Hafiz, the 28-year-old interior designer, entered a Blom Bank branch carrying what turned out to be a toy gun. She locked the doors and live-streamed the entire event. Her statement on camera, "I am Sally Hafiz. I came today to take the deposits of my sister who is dying in the hospital. Her sister Nancy had brain cancer." Sally escaped through a back window with approximately $13,000, disguised as a pregnant woman walking past 60 police officers. She told Reuters, "We're in the country of mafias. If you're not evolved, the wolves will eat you." In the single week of September 14th, at least 7 depositors held up banks attempting to withdraw their own money. The banks shut their doors. Act 7. Accountability. The man who presided over all of it was Riyad Salami, central bank governor for 30 years. Named world's best central banker by Euromoney magazine in 2006. Interpol issued red notices against him. Switzerland, France, Germany, Luxembourg, Liechtenstein, and Belgium launched criminal investigations. Lebanese police arrested him in Beirut on September 3, 2024. Prosecutors charged him with embezzling $44 million, forgery, illicit enrichment, and money laundering. His bail was set at $20 million, the largest in Lebanese legal history. He paid it. Close. The Lebanese banking system did not collapse because of war. It did not collapse because of a natural disaster or an external shock beyond anyone's control. It collapsed because the central bank used depositor money to finance government debt at interest rates that were, mathematically, unsustainable, and when the inflow of new deposits slowed, the structure failed. The World Bank called it a Ponzi scheme. The depositors were the last to know. Hassan and Fatima did everything right. They saved in dollars. They used a bank with decades of operating history. They followed every piece of conventional financial advice, every professional recommendation, for 22 years. They lost roughly 80% of their wealth, not through a crash, not through inflation, but through a system that needed their deposits more than it needed their trust. The question this story leaves you with isn't about currency. It's about institutions. It's about who controls the rules and whether they can change them without your consent. Because Bassam al-Sheikh Hussein had $210,000 in his account. The number was right there on the screen. The dollars were not.